It was my pleasure. And join us after the break. We've got Father Glen Tattersall coming on to talk about the potential banning of the traditional Latin Mass. Joining us now is Father Glen Tattersall, priest of the parish of St John Henry Newman. Father Glen, welcome to Spectator TV. Tell us a little about yourself and your parish.
Well, thank you, Alexandra. It's a pleasure to be with you. So, I'm parish priest, as you've indicated, of the parish of St John Henry Newman in Melbourne. It's what we call a personal or non-territorial parish. Most Catholic parishes are to provide for the Catholics in the local area, the physical territorial area around them. Personal parishes or non-territorial parishes have some other point of commonality, and they can serve Catholics throughout a diocese or a local church under the bishop. So our parish was established in 2014 by the former Archbishop of Melbourne, Archbishop Hart, to serve those Catholics who are attached to the traditional Latin liturgy, so the traditional Latin Mass and the various sacraments in the traditional Latin forms. So our people, unlike most parishes, our people come from all across Melbourne. There's quite a range spread right throughout Greater Melbourne, and they're registered for our parish. So that's a significant difference. That it's really a self-selecting community. People need to commit to that community, that parish community, and many of them travel some distance to be here.
Well, I've asked.
And they're fairly rare. There are only two such parishes in Australia. There's one in Sydney, and there's one in Melbourne. There are other traditional Mass communities, but they're not at the level of a parish. They might be a chaplaincy or some other form, but the parish is really the highest level of juridic reality in the basic unit of the church within the diocese.
Well, I have asked you to come on because there is a lot of speculation about the future of the traditional Latin Mass. Now, the rumour mill is flying that it could be banned as soon as this month. And now, is this genuinely a possibility? Have there been sources named, or is it just speculation? And I ask you because we've got a lot of very concerned Catholic viewers here who want to know what's actually going on.
Yes, well, I guess we'd all like to know what's going on. There's always a certain element of speculation, but I think there are legitimate concerns, and I certainly have reason to believe that something is moving forward. Now, the exact nature of that is very hard to tell, but there has been clearly a very changed policy since 2021. So for at least 33 years, if not more, we've had a policy by two previous popes of absolute freedom and support. So Pope John Paul II, first of all, in 1985, but then in a more general way in 1988, with his decree Ecclesia Dei, recognised the just aspirations, as he put it, of the faithful, both the lay people and the clergy, to have access to this Mass, to this traditional form of Mass, which is the historical form of our worship in the West, of the Mass. It's not something that just happened or was invented a few decades ago or even a few centuries ago. It substantially goes back 1,500 years. It's the historical and received form of the Mass. So he recognised that, and then there was further recognition given, that was in 1988, by Pope Benedict XVI in a decree Summorum Pontificum in 2007. And that decree was significant because it recognised that the traditional Mass had never been abrogated in law. There had been attempts, in fact, to suppress it. There had been, if you like, a putative ban or restrictions, but Benedict XVI didn't really. It's important to say that in that document in 2007, he didn't create some new right. He recognised that the right had already existed and had not been removed. And that right is founded on two things: immemorial custom, which we greatly value as the practical expression of tradition in the Catholic Church, and also a very important, very high-level legislation by Pope St Pius V in 1570, Quo Primum, in which in this apostolic letter, Pius V had said that this Mass can always be offered by any priest and can always be attended by any of the faithful, and that right can never be taken away. So Benedict XVI recognised that those rights had not been taken away. So it was really a question of a recognition by Benedict of an existing reality, a legal reality, rather than the creation of something new. So when, for reasons best known to himself, when Pope Francis issued Traditionis Custodes in 2021, he couldn't really overturn those realities, but he attempted to restrict access to the traditional Mass and also to the sacraments in a way that was not consistent with what we had already understood. And so the question arises as to whether he's acted, as the lawyers would say, ultra vires, all right, outside of, beyond his power. Because we say that the Pope has supreme authority as the Vicar of Christ in the Catholic understanding. He has supreme authority in the Church. That doesn't mean absolute power. He can't do whatever he wants. So the Pope is the first, servant of the Word of God. He's under the Word of God. He's there to interpret and to defend and preach the Word of God. And he's a sign and an instrumental cause of unity precisely because of that. So he's not superior to the Word of God, and he's not superior to tradition. So tradition, and really the traditional Mass is a constitutive part of our tradition. So it's like saying, well, we can abolish, the Nicene Creed, which defended the divinity of Christ. We can't do that. That's part of our tradition. So the historical form of the Mass can't be lawfully restricted. Yes, you can introduce a new form of the Mass, but you can't abolish the old one.
Which is why this is also perplexing and why it has so many Catholics worried.
Yes.
But I believe you presided over the final Latin Mass in St. Patrick's Cathedral in June, attended by hundreds of people. Was there a sense of hope among the congregation that traditional Latin Mass would return to the cathedral soon?
Yes. I think that most of us who were there sensed that it wasn't going, in fact, to be the final Mass, that there was going to be a pause, and that the Mass would return there. That cathedral was built for the traditional Mass, and there was a tremendous turnout. In fact, it was over 1,000 present at the Mass. We had counted just over 850, but the cathedral security, who had better means of counting, told us there were over 1,000. And the Archbishop also assisted at that Mass. I celebrated the Mass and preached. While there was tremendous sadness that for the time being the Mass there is suspended, there was also a great sense of hope that the Mass there would return. And we could see the support of people for this traditional form of Mass. There is a tremendously high level of support, and especially among young people. And we're seeing many converts, many returning to the faith.
To bring up on that point, we actually had somebody else from the faith talking about it, who pointed out that it's Gen Z and millennials who are coming to the faith for things like this, mostly because their current culture is so devoid of these sorts of things that they're attracted to traditional Latin Mass and the religion that goes with it.